let me ask you something. What do you think really makes someone a massive success? Is it just pure raw talent, a crazy work ethic? Well, today we're diving into Malcolm Gladwell's game-changing book, Outliers. And let me tell you, it's going to make you question everything. It argues that the secret to success might have way more to do with your birthday than your brain power. You ready? Let's get into it. So let's just start with this giant question. What if everything you've ever been told about the self-made person is basically a myth? I mean, we love that story, right? The lone genius who pulls themselves up by their bootstraps. But Gladwell's whole point in Outliers is that where you're from, when you were born, and the lucky breaks you get, those things are just as important, maybe even more important than your individual talent. It's a pretty radical idea, and it's what makes this book so fascinating. All right, our first stop is the super competitive world of Canadian hockey. Now, you'd think this is the perfect meritocracy, right? The fastest, strongest kids get to the top. Simple. But Gladwell peels back the layers and finds this bizarre, hidden pattern, and it has absolutely nothing to do with who's naturally gifted. It all comes down to this one single, seemingly harmless rule. To play in a league for, say, 9-year-olds, you just have to turn 9 in that calendar year. The cutoff is January 1st. Now, think about that. That means a kid born on January 2nd is on the same team as a kid born on December 30th. At that age, a 10 or 11-month difference, that's a huge deal for physical size and coordination. Okay, now just look at this chart. The result of that one little rule is, well, it's insane. See that first bar? Nearly 40% of all the players in these elite hockey leagues are born in January, February, or March. That is not a coincidence. It's a pattern. The kids who are just a little bit older and bigger at age 9 get identified as talented. They get the better coaching, and that tiny initial advantage just starts to snowball. And this whole phenomenon actually has a name. Gladwell calls it the Matthew effect, and it's based on a verse in the Bible that basically says, to those who have, more will be given. It's this idea of cumulative advantage. A small edge at the very beginning doesn't just stay a small edge. Oh no, it grows and it compounds until you have these massive gaps between people who started out pretty much the same. And this just lays it out perfectly. It's like a chain reaction. You've got an early birthday, so you're a bit bigger and stronger. Because you're bigger, you get picked for the all-star teams. Being on those top teams means you get way better coaching and a ton more ice time. And all that extra practice is what actually makes you a superstar. It wasn't the birthday itself. The birthday just opened the door. It created the opportunity. So, okay, practice is obviously key. But that brings us to the next massive idea from Outliers. And it's one you've probably heard of. This is the idea that practice is the only thing that matters. But as we're about to see, that's also just part of the story. Ah, yes, the famous 10,000-hour rule. Gladwell, pulling from the work of psychologist K. Anders Ericsson, makes this claim that 10,000 hours is the magic number for true world-class expertise. You want to be an incredible violinist, a chess master, a computer programmer? You got to put in about 10,000 hours of real, focused practice. But, and this is a huge but, here's the twist. To get what he means, let's talk about Bill Joy. This guy's a programming legend, one of the founders of Sun Microsystems, and he absolutely put in his 10,000 hours, no question. But the real story, the secret ingredient, is in how on earth he was able to do that in the first place. You see, when Bill Joy was a student at the University of Michigan way back in 1971, he just happened to stumble upon one of the very first computer centers in the world that had time sharing. It was an incredibly rare, almost unbelievable opportunity. He found a glitch in the system that let him program for free for as long as he wanted, so he practically lived in that computer lab, clocking his 10,000 hours at a time when most people had never even seen a computer. So this is the crucial difference. The myth we tell ourselves is that practice alone equals success, but the reality is that practice plus opportunity equals success. You can't separate them. Bill Joy's hard work was absolutely essential, but it was completely unlocked by a golden, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He was in the right place at the exact right time. Okay, now for the last piece of the puzzle. And honestly, this might be the deepest and most mind-blowing one of all, our cultural legacy. Gladwell argues that where our ancestors came from, the kind of work they did hundreds of years ago, it has a real, powerful, and direct impact on our lives today. It goes so much deeper than just birthdays or lucky breaks. Gladwell gives these incredible contrasting examples. On the one hand, you have the culture of honor from the Appalachian Mountains. The people who settled there were mostly herdsmen from the fringes of Britain. Their wealth, their animals, could be stolen in a heartbeat. So a culture developed where you had to be aggressive. You had to defend your reputation at all costs. And that legacy of conflict still shows up in data today. Then, on the complete other hand, you have the legacy of rice paddy farming in Asia. Growing rice isn't like Western wheat farming. It's incredibly complex, precise, and it takes meaningful, persistent work all year long. That legacy created a deep cultural belief that hard work pays off, that if you're persistent, you can solve any problem. And guess what? That attitude correlates incredibly well with success in things like math. So let's put it all together. If the story of the self-made hero is a myth, what's the real formula? After breaking down birthdays, lucky breaks, and these deep cultural legacies, Gladwell gives us a totally new way to think about what it actually takes to become an outlier. The real formula isn't simple. It's a complex cocktail. It starts with some kind of hidden advantage, like being born in January. That advantage leads you to a golden opportunity, like getting unlimited time on a brand new computer. That opportunity is what lets you put in your 10,000 hours of practice. And all of that is built on a cultural legacy, a history that prepared you to make the most of that chance. Success isn't random. It's the result of all these things coming together. And that leaves us with this one final, really provocative thought. If the playing field is really this uneven, if success depends so much on things we can't control, like when we were born or where our great-great-grandparents lived, what does that mean for our ideas of fairness and merit? It's a huge question. It challenges us to not just stand back and admire the outliers, but to think about how we can build a world where a lot more people get the chance to become one.